Hello, people. Welcome back to another video by your good friend, Chad Marco. Make sure you attack the like button and check out my other social media. So today we got to talk about STDs, man. So there was a video that I saw on X a few weeks back, and there was a young lady who was talking about her experience of just catching an STD. I think it was herpes, and it went kind of viral, at least on X. I watched it, and of course people had their say about it, and I kind of forgot about it. And today I actually saw the video on not just the Give board, but on R9K. And I also noticed that Coach Greg Adams, he covered it in one of his videos, and I was like, oh man, let me go ahead and check this out again. And I was like, yo, there's actually an important lesson here. And I think I talked about it before on one of the podcasts, but you know, this is just a great opportunity to give everybody a refresher, if you will. But let's actually look at the video a little bit. It doesn't have audio because I snagged this one from R9K, and you know R9K doesn't allow videos with audio, so you're just gonna have to look at the text here and read along. But I'm gonna just cover it, and then we're gonna actually check out the thread that I got this video from to get some takes from our good pals on Robot 9000. Okay, so let's look at what she's saying here. So she noticed warts. Okay, I did notice warts on my genitals. Very, very painful. These last few days, I've just felt run down and icky. I haven't had an appetite. Uncomfortable. It hurts to walk. It hurts to sit. And you know, one thing I've noticed, I'll stop it right there. I see people trying to downplay STDs because, you know, when you're talking about herpes, you have like herpes 1 and herpes 2. And I think herpes 1 is much more common. And a lot of people actually catch it in their childhood, and it manifests as like cold sores and things like that. And, you know, it's typical for children to catch it from parents or siblings sharing cups and glasses, or maybe your mom kisses you or something like that. But you have to know that it's much different from herpes too. And I notice a lot of people try to downplay catching and having herpes, and I suspect oftentimes these people themselves have it, so they have incentive to downplay it. But you listen to what she's saying, this is way different from herpes 1, where you just get like a cold sore or something in your mouth. It hurts to sit. I'm in pain. That's way different. Not some shit you want to catch or spread. Everything hurts. Come on, man. I hate how people try to compare the two, right? Oh, herpes 1, 2. Who cares? No, man. It's a difference. I'm scared. I'm scared. If it's herpes, I know it's not the end. So this was before she went to go get tested. I know some people were giving her shit about putting herself out there like this, but I gotta kind of give her credit for that, because I think the more young girls and young men that see this, maybe they'll take it more seriously, you know. And she's documenting it from beginning to end. She's noticing some symptoms, and she's about to go get checked out. I'm going to my appointment now, so I will come back with an update. And she just got the news. You can see there that I have herpes. If I want to have unprotected sex, I have to tell them. I don't know how this is going to affect my dating life. I can't give birth vaginally if I have an outbreak. Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. But I will say, again, just to give credit where credit is due, the fact that she understands that given the situation that she's in, that she's obligated to tell people, because a lot of people wouldn't even do that. Let's be frank. A lot of people, I guarantee there are a lot of guys out there that know they got something, and they'll do stuff like, well, I'm not going to say anything because I know with the medication that there's only like a 0.5% chance of spreading it, and I'm not having an outbreak. So there are people who are really like that. They would gamble with your health. Real shit. And again, a lot of people shit on her, and dragged her through the mud. I understand. But I'm just trying to find the silver lining here. And the fact that she put it out there, and the fact that she understands her responsibility being a STD carrier, you know, that has to amount for something. I don't know. I don't fucking know how I'm supposed to tell my parents this. Oh yeah. It's also just fucking painful. And I'm gonna have these outbreaks for the rest of my life. I feel like my parents are gonna be so disappointed in me. Oh, I almost want to tear up my damn self. I don't know. But then I noticed warts on my. Okay. So that was it. All right. I think there was more to the video, but that was the gist of it. So you have a young, attractive lady who caught an STD, and I guarantee you, she ain't the only one. She is not the only one. You know, not to make light of her situation, but this is just something that is happening all too often. And I remember I talked about STDs on the podcast one time because I believe it was because of these new strains of HPV that are causing like throat cancer and stuff like that. And I advise people, you know, I hate to say it because I know it's boring and square-like, but you really can't afford to have sex with somebody without getting tested first. You absolutely can't. You're gambling with your health, point blank, period, when you do that. And this is a perfect example of what can happen. And, you know, I feel like I said before, there are people who they get tested and they don't tell people. They know they have something and they feel like, well, because I'm taking the medications, I'm not having an outbreak, the chance of them catching something. I'm telling you, there are people who really think like that and they think that's okay. And in their mind, they're going to justify it. But you as an individual, you need to protect yourself from people like that. But even worse, you have people who, I'm telling you, it's people who they suspect and know that they have something and won't go get tested just so they don't have to face the reality. Because when you face the reality, then it's like, you know, you got something and you're really accountable for having to tell somebody. It's kind of like ignorance is bliss. You might suspect that you have something. Oh man, when I peed, like it burned, but whatever, you know, maybe it was something I ate. I'm telling you, people will really think like that. And it allows them to not have to know for sure and then take the necessary precautions to protect other people from the disease that they carry. And that's why you have to really take your own health into your hands and not depend on other people to be truthful to you as far as whether or not they have anything. Just real quick before we get into the thread, I remember there was a guy on 4chan who was telling a story about how he caught, I think he caught herpes or something from a girl who lied and said she was a virgin and she wasn't, and he caught something for her. So again, don't believe nobody. This is the era of trust no one. I don't care what anyone says. This is the era where you really have to verify before you trust anybody. But let's get into the thread and let's see what the people on R9K had to say about this situation. Okay, so this was the OP, and as you can see, they had the video here. And right off the bat, you have the typical R9K response: be a whore, get STDs, have to live in pain forever. I mean, nothing less than what I would expect from our good pals over there at R9K. But let's go a little bit deeper, huh? And so this guy says, women are shared by the same chads. They all get STDs. And then this guy, fool, says Chad always wins, so he's probably immune to STDs. He's not, believe me. How would he be immune? Okay. But good point here. I remember one of my old friends had came over, and he was talking about he got burned by some girl. He got like one of those, I forgot the exact STD, but you know, one of those STDs that you catch, but there's like treatment for it, so like it's not incurable. He said he was at the clinic, and what he noticed was that most of the girls there were like bad bitches, like the pretty girls and shit. And when he said it, I just kind of connected the dots in my head myself. But kind of like what this guy here is saying, women are shared by the same chads. Why did he see in the clinic all these pretty girls get in there getting checked out for STDs? Because you have these pretty girls chasing after the same alpha, chasing after the same Chad or Tyrone. And if one of them happens to have an STD, then he's giving it to multiple girls. And like a lot of people are not getting tested. A lot of people are not wearing condoms and practicing safe sex. It's just, it's the nature of, hookup culture in today's society, unfortunately. And so this guy says there are now strains of STDs that are multi-drug resistant and totally drug resistant. Total meaning there is no treatment. I don't think people are ready for how severe that is, but basically the disease will eat you alive. Think back, you ever seen that movie? I think it's called The Libertine, starring Johnny Depp. And it was like this movie that took place in like the, I don't know, like 1700s or 1800s. And he played like this pompous, noble guy who was into theater, and he would sleep around a lot. And basically he caught syphilis at one point, and he had like went into hiding and exile because his body was decaying and like his nose rotted off and shit. And basically he was dying slowly of syphilis. And that movie just always stood out to me as being an example of what catching an STD used to mean. You know, now you can catch syphilis, and I think it's completely treatable and curable. But back then, like, you were just gonna die slow, and your damn face gonna rot off. But like this guy is saying, I've been hearing more and more about these drug resistant STDs. And just imagine, we get to that point where something like that spreads around. Remember the whole monkeypox thing? People thought that was going to be like the next big STD. Turned out to be a bit of a nothing burger. But, the fact is, what reason is there for there not to be another potential HIV or AIDS-like STD that could start spreading around? That's why, again, another reason is to take your health seriously. Don't just think that you can get bailed out by a pill for everything that you can catch. This guy says, this is unironically what we get for not following the word of God. I'm not even a Christ, but you can't deny that the Bible has a lot of ancient wisdom in it, such as don't fuck everything in sight or God. STDs may smite you with boils and other nasty shit. Certainly the Bible has a lot of great wisdom in it. He makes a good point here, but these days I'm kind of half and half on that, because I feel like on one hand, the Bible does steer you in the right direction in a lot of ways when it comes to conducting yourself in terms of sex, but I also think that it also misleads guys too, because of the whole marriage thing. A lot of guys who are like heavily religious, they tend to feel like they got to get married, and then they end up in getting divorced and shit like that. Kind of like the whole Steven Crowder situation, right? Super religious, Christ-like, Bible, get married, anti-red pill, anti-MGTOW, gets married, then divorced, and realizes, wait, MGTOW, red pill, they were right. So I'm kind of half and half with this point. It definitely a lot of wisdom in the Bible and shit like that. But I think because it can't be adjusted for modern times, it's not always going to hit the nail on the head. And we're seeing that with how guys who are religious get caught up in the whole marriage thing because they don't see any other way to have a relationship. And so this guy says, even with her STDs, there are hundreds of simps who would tap that unprotected. They simply don't care. This is absolutely true. Don't. It's bad, but it's not nearly as bad as it seems, because she's very pretty. She's a pretty young white girl. I'll put it like this. You ever seen like how guys would see a girl who's in a wheelchair and they'll want to save her. They'll want to be her hero. Or they maybe a girl might be blind or deaf. A girl might have one leg or one arm or something like that. To be real with you, a girl having an STD like herpes is probably the equivalent of a girl missing an arm or something like that. guys will accept, and even guys with no STDs will accept that in a pretty girl just to be with somebody. I'm telling you, it's plenty of guys, and I'm not gonna name call here. I'm just calling it what it is. Just like how you have guys who I mean, think about it. There are guys out there that accept women for like already having kids. That's a good hypothetical, by the way. Would you rather be with a girl who has herpes or one that has a kid? Whoa. But anyway, he's completely right. I know she's distraught. She feels very bad. But the truth is, she's not going to have too much trouble finding a man. Somebody is going to look past it. And of course, then you have ways around, you know, with the medications and don't have sex during the outbreak. I've heard of couples where one has herpes and the other doesn't, or one has HIV and the other doesn't. So it's not like there aren't ways to work around it. I'm telling you, as bad as she feels, it's honestly going to be negligible overall as far as like affecting her dating life. She's still going to be able to get some good dick, you know, whether you want to dog her about it or not. And so this guy says, that feel when I just have sex with my girlfriend and don't have to worry about this because I keep it to one person and she wouldn't cheat on me. Too autistic and awkward, loves me as I love her. You know what? I feel him for the first part, but when guys say shit like that, she wouldn't cheat on me, I swear you got to be a dumb motherfucker. you got to be a dumb motherfucker to ever don't say, oh, but look, maybe he knows, he would know better than me. I'm just saying that a lot of the guys who get cheated on, they feel just like, I hate when I see guys say that, you know, like, but I get where he's coming from. You know, you get with one girl and that's like the safest way of protecting yourself from STDs. Even myself, you know, I've already decided that, you know, if I ever start having sex, I want it to be within a relationship because that's the best way to protect yourself from STDs. Meet someone, get tested together, be monogamous, and, you know, but the reality is that that person can always cheat on you and bring something back. So the way I look at it, I just accept that as a possibility. I would never be stupid enough to say, oh, she's never going to cheat on me. She's so autistic and weird. But I will say, look, I did my best. I met somebody. We got tested together. We were monogamous. And look, she could cheat on me and give me something. But look, if I go out like that, I can live with it because I tried, you know, but I would never be foolish enough. My girl would never. God. But next. So this person says, how can you guys not have sympathy for her? Like, yeah, she had sex, but now she has a permanent disease for the rest of her life. And you guys are celebrating it. Have done fucking empathy. Have some fucking empathy. And of course, you get the expected responses. Same as somebody drinking themselves to liver disease or something like that. It's a disease of consequence. Then this guy says, I hope she passes it on to her children. This guy says, because she's a whore facing the consequences of her actions and deserves to be ridiculed and ostracized. And as you can see, there were a lot of replies here. And all of them were pretty much of the same, you know, they're all pretty much saying the same thing. Like, okay, this guy said, no sympathy for dumbass whores. This guy says, no, I would not feel sympathy for a slut who has fucked countless men and is reaping the consequences of her own actions. This guy says, hear me out. Maybe, just maybe, don't be a whore. Shocking, right? This guy says, fuck around, find out. I don't feel sorry for people who know that they shouldn't be doing something and do it anyways. That's called karma. I hope she doesn't suffer every day for the rest of her life. No, I hope she doesn't and suffers every day for the rest of her life. And then he says, it's what she deserves for sleeping around and with man whores. How hard is it to just not have sex? Blah. So, you know, typical expected responses. I'm not surprised here. But you guys might be surprised. But I actually do have empathy for her. And the reason why is this. And this might be a bit long-winded, but let me cook. Because you guys know I'm a 31-year-old virgin. And I attribute that to two things primarily. One is that ever since I was young, I embraced being a virgin. I embraced being single. I saw the benefits of it. And one of those benefits being you don't have to worry about STDs. And I think for that, I do deserve credit because to a certain degree, it was a conscious decision on my part. And I had opportunities to lose my virginity. Not a lot, but I had a few slam dunk opportunities with fat gorilla orc hoes. And also that one opportunity where I could have betrayed one of my friends and fucked his girl. Didn't do it. And just on top of that, if I was really gun-ho about wanting to prove my manhood and lose my virginity, I could have. But on the other side too, it was easy for me because I was never all that attractive to begin with. I never had to deal with serious temptation in regards to women chasing after me, liking me, throwing me pussy. I always think about one guy I grew up with who was that guy, who was a Chad, a Tyrone, who just had that it factor and girls just loved him. And, you know, he had a kid while we were still in high school, I believe. It might have caught something. I'll never know whether or not, but whatever the case may be, the reason why I have empathy for her is because it's so easy for these guys to sit here and dog her and drag her through the mud when they've never had the temptation of someone that you like wanting to have sex with you. And then you gotta have the maturity and the forethought and the mindset to say, hold up, stop. Let's get tested. I get it. It's R9K. We're supposed to just say, damn these whores. Right, fuck them. But I'm not gonna join in on this because I guarantee you the same guys that are talking this shit about her, more than likely, they have never dealt with any real temptation to where they had to turn down good pussy. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be Mr. Normie. This is just facts. And I can say that about myself. And that's why I'm not going to dog her. I never in my life had I had to really sit like a bad bitch throwing me pussy and I had to say no. And not just that, but to do it 16, 18, 21 when you're young and dumb and you don't really think like this. I didn't even really fully understand that it would be crazy to have sex without getting tested first until I was probably like 25 or something like that. And so what you have a bunch of guys, and again, I get it, but the fact is, these guys, I promise you, 9 out of 10, they would have made the same mistake if they were Chad, if they were Brad, if they were Tyrone, and they were 18, 19 at the party. You know that girl you like? You know that girl you have a crush on that we're too afraid to talk to because we're losers, because we're weird? Imagine being the guy that girl is throwing pussy to, throwing it to. And you think that you and your infinite biblical wisdom, like 18, 19-year-old you drunk at the party, is just gonna say no? Really? You want me to believe that? I get it. But I'm wise enough to know that as much of my avoiding these pitfalls was based on my choice and consciousness, it was also luck. Because if I was that nigga, if I was the guy that I looked at school and knew he was that guy, if I was him, I could have made the same mistake. And the reason why I have empathy for her is because as a pretty young girl, what you have to realize is that for her, being a pretty young girl is like basically being Chad by default. The guys that she likes, the guys that she has crushes, she can get that. She has that. And you expect her to just have the forethought and the presence of mind to say no. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for her. Obviously, I'm trying to encourage. You know, I talked to my niece about this. That's why I'm trying to get her to understand this. So I'm not trying to make excuses here. I'm just saying, let's be realistic. It's too easy to sit here as virgin weirdos who never had a crumb of pussy thrown to us, and not just like, again, imagine the girl that you like, the cashier girl, the big titty goth girl, 19-year-old you're gonna hit the pause button and say, let's go get tested? I doubt it. I really do. I seriously doubt it. I'm the super virgin, and I don't even think I would have did it. What? I'm the super wise mega virgin, and I'm humble enough to admit that I could have made the same mistake. So that's why I'm not gonna sit here and dog on this girl, because I can see how a young person in their late teens and early 20s can make a mistake like that in today's today's day, especially, oh my God, especially a young man. The way we have to struggle and fight for crumbs of pussy, and then you almost get there, and then you got to hit the pause button. Wait, we need to get tested. Most girls are not going to even go for that, by the way. Most girls, like, what? Because everything is, and that's why, again, I'm not with it. I'm not with the let's jump on this bitch. I'm not with that shit. Cause I get it. It's funny. But the fact is, most of these guys, if the girls they liked when they were her age, if they aren't her age, if the girls they liked was throwing them pussy, I promise you, 9 out of 10 of them would not go get tested before fucking them. I promise you that. 9 out of 10. One might, but most of them wouldn't do it. Most of them wouldn't do it. And that's why I'm not with that shit. But let's keep it moving. As men, how we can struggle to get dates and find women, I think there's a reluctance on our part to fuck up opportunities. This is why men will say, don't tell girls you're a virgin. Don't do this. Don't have an Android, have an iPhone, because any little thing can fuck up your opportunity. And I guarantee you, I promise you, if you go around trying to date girls and you get to that point where you're like, okay, well, I think it's about time we're going to be having sex, and you hit the pause button and say, hey, we need to get tested together, I guarantee you, you're going to miss out on some pussy doing that shit. I promise you. I promise you. There are going to be girls who are not going to go for that. There are going to be girls who either are like, why should I go through that trouble for you? There are going to be girls who might suspect they have something and don't want to know. But that's what kind of worries me the most, because maybe one day I'll be sexually active, and I hope that I'm smart enough to hold on to this principle and understanding that I need to hit the pause button and say, we need to get tested together, you and me, so that we know for sure whether or not you have something or I have something. And I just feel like, and really, I'm predicting that I'm probably, if I get to that point, I'm predicting that I'm going to turn some girls off with that. Because I think a lot of girls, again, fast-paced, normie hookup culture, you don't do that. That's not normal. That's abnormal to do shit like that. People really just roll the dice. But if I ever start having sex, I want to be the difference. I want to be somebody that does things different. And I want to encourage other guys to do things different. And I want to encourage the girls. If I ever have sex, I want to encourage them to move differently. I think it's time for people to really just move differently in regards to relationships, and especially STDs and things like that. And just be more careful. Take time to get to know people. Slow down. Protect yourself. Protect your health. And, just hold on to that principle no matter what. Because like these guys have said, and you look at that girl's face by itself, it tells you everything. It ain't worth it. It's not worth it. All that for what? You might fuck 3-4 times combined for an hour or so of pleasure, and then you got this disease that you have to live with for the rest of your life. It's not worth it, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I hope you're taking this good wisdom to heart and you run with it. And I will see you guys later. Johnny.